Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ground Level Theology. With me, as always, the co-host, Dave Hoffman.
Hey
Welcome, Dave.
y'all. I did the hey y'all again. I'm so sorry.
Hey,
Hey
y'all.
everybody. Great
Yep.
to be here.
Well, you guys already know what we are doing. Last week, we did the yes/no game. We are continuing on with our second set of questions.
Let's go.
And yeah, you know what? Let's just jump right
Utah,
in
give me two.
because,
Give me two, Utah.
yeah, y'all know what you signed up for. You know what it is.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started. If you don't know what this game is, feel free to listen to last week's episode, episode one, because this is a continuation, and I did give the directions on that one. So let's just go ahead and hop back in. So,
Yeah.
question number 9.
hmm
The sons of God in Genesis 6:4 are fallen angels.
Hmm. No curveballs this time, okay? Um,
Yeah, I
okay.
know
I, I
your
think I have your
answer. I
answer.
feel like you know what I would say. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
that you are definitely yes.
I'm definitely
Yeah,
yes. Ooh,
definitely.
he went.
I'm
You
going
are
in with
definitely
surety.
yes.
I'm going headlong into this
Hmm.
this canyon.
I'm thinking you're definitely yes also.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are correct. Am I
Whew.
correct?
Look at us. Now, it's not just what we think, right? Are we actually correct?
Wait, am
No.
I correct? They're
No.
leaving us in suspense right now.
Yes, I am a
Okay.
definitely yes.
Yes, he is. I
Yes,
got it correct. He's
definitely
a
yes.
definite yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad to know I got it right too. Um,
You know,
and
it's funny because
yeah.
we used to do this to freshmen.
Oh, okay, guys, it was called Pancake Night and Hot Seat,
Yep.
and it was really fun. And all it was is we get to make free pancakes. Like who wouldn't want that? And we call it Hot Seat, but it was really just a way for us to get to know
Hmm.
the new people. And it's like the closest thing to like what Christian hazing,
Yeah.
because it's like I'm not going to hurt you. I don't want to do anything to you, but I do want to get to know you. We're living
Right.
together, and it's a fun way to eat free food and the hot seat with a
Yeah,
really
get to
hot
know a
lamp,
brother.
like just like right in. But it was fun. But yeah, we used to ask this question like, "Hey, like, what does Genesis 6:4 mean?"
Yeah, what's your
Yeah,
interpretation of Genesis
yeah,
6:4?
yeah. Nephilim.
It was a lot of fun because there's the folks for those of you that are not
Like
really
familiar.
understanding where we're at. Genesis 6:4, and the sons of God looked upon the daughters of man, and they came down and they married and procreated,
Procreated. Yeah.
essentially. There are three interpretations of this. One of them being that these are angels, fallen angels, as we would call them, demons, if you will, after the fact. But these were angels that left their position, as Jude would say,
There you
and
go.
uh,
You
and
had to
then
bring up Jude. I'm like, dang it. I'm like, that's
yeah,
where we get it. It's Jude really
um,
helps.
yeah, and they procreated with human beings, women, and had children. That is the Nephilim. The second interpretation is that these are actually of the line of what is it, Cain? Because I
Well,
think
Cain and then um yeah,
it's just
Cain.
not of the
Because you
correct
don't have
line.
Shem, Ham, and Japheth yet. That's
Yeah,
after Noah.
yeah.
So that's further curse. So yeah, it's the line of
So
Cain
it's just
descendants.
the incorrect line. It's not the promised line. There's mingling and procreation happening between those lines, which is a terrible thing because it's starting to essentially cut the promised lineage and potentially stop God from being able to come into existence and save humanity. Sort of, I guess, would be the idea behind that. And then
Mhm.
the third interpretation, and I'm starting to blank here, um, the kings. That's what it was. The
Yeah.
sons of God.
Oh, right.
The phrase "sons of God" can be literally his children as
Like
far as
royalty.
the humanity, thus the lineage, the whole Seth or Cain line. But the sons of God can actually be in reference to kings as well, and he does use that. All of these are correct uses of the term sons of God. And so one of them is kings. And so kings were actually taking women sort of by force, by their sovereignty, just decreeing, hey, bring me that woman. And they were just marrying and, procreating with whoever they wanted indiscriminately. And so that was sort of the evil that was taking place. And then it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Hmm.
So those are sort of the three interpretations. As we just said, we sort of believe that they're more of the fallen angel variety. Dave, do you want to talk about that just a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, there's a rationale behind that where, um, well, you brought up Jude, and that helps out a lot actually. It's interesting that we get to the second to last book of what we consider the canon of Scripture to learn more about this verse, Genesis
Right.
6:4. It's always I'm never cease to be amazed.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me just explain the reasons why usually I try to do like why I'm not in favor of other things, but like I'm just going to outright say this is why I'm in favor of a fallen angel interpretation.
Mhm.
Uh, just the Hebrew word Nephilim, that it's
Yeah.
Nephal, to Hebrew like to fall or to be, the fallen ones, because
Mhm.
im is the plural ending, so it's literally like fallen ones. And I know when the Bible at other places, when he has given us the power to become the very sons of God. You've heard that elsewhere, in the New
Mhm.
Testament, where like that doesn't mean we're godlike or that we're deified or something now, but
Right.
that we are made in His image, little kings, if you will. But that's when you think of the language of this passage. Uh, I'm not trying to be like, oh, if it was just human relations, like when God wouldn't God just say, they're marrying or intermarriage, as if
Yeah.
that would have been, because God talks a lot about intermarriage throughout the whole Old Testament, and He doesn't really talk about it like that here.
Yeah, and
It's a
Moses
different
is
kind of
not foreign to
relationship.
kings.
Correct, and I also, well, yeah, he's not for, and usually when he's talking about kings, he's not using sons of God language.
Yeah.
He'll use Melech.
Yeah,
Like
which he
he'll say
does
kings.
when Abraham meets kings, when
Right. Like
Isaac
that's
meets kings, and yeah.
100%. So I think literally the fact that we're using Nephilim, we're taking like to like the fall, like the fallen ones. And I'm like, and you're trying to think of who fell, because we know humans are fallen, but
Hmm.
we don't think of we don't refer to humans as fallen ones, and we don't refuse to refer to their marriages as, oh, hey, this fallen man is now taking a daughter of man. It's like, why would you have to modify the daughters
Yeah.
unless there is a different relationship going on where these are humans and these over here, this party, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I'm there.
it is also sort of highlighting a like it's not only
Oh, like the
highlighting.
depravity.
Yeah, that, but also the like extra supernaturalness of the very beginning is like they're sort of
Hmm.
perfectly melded together. The Father, or well, we'll just say God in general because it doesn't necessarily say the Father, but God
Right,
in
right.
general is walking in the garden, speaking to Adam, speaking to man face to face. So there isn't that like separation as much at that point in time. And then even as he's saying that, hey, between the serpent and the woman's offspring, there will be enmity between each other, right? And so now there's more of that separation between the serpent's offspring and Eve's offspring, which is actually why I'm saying that the interpretation for
Hmm.
the lineages is actually evangelical as well. All of these are ones that you can hold and they have their weight.
Right,
Um,
right.
but with that being said, you're still seeing, oh, just as the serpent who was able to talk and we know is a Satan to God, is a enemy to God, so too are we seeing that there's a bit more of this eneminess coming through. This offspring idea is coming through in that now we are seeing the sons of God are actually coming down and also ruining creation. The first one was tempting, but now there's actually a lot more at play here, and then it's
Hmm.
going to separate more and more as there's less kind of spiritualness going on. But this is we're seeing a very like primordial aspect of creation, in which the supernatural and the natural are just so married to each other. If I could
Literally.
be punny.
Yeah. So punny.
So yeah, that's I do think that that's a really good interpretation, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say this, folks, if that makes you really uncomfortable, you can use one of the other two interpretations. Those are evangelical,
Oh,
those are perfectly fine.
totally
But I
fine.
think David and I, we both think that the fallen angels interpretation is the one that does the best justice to the text, how the grammar is used, how the ideas are used, and even how it flows through the rest of the Bible.
Right.
We know that there are supernatural elements. We don't try and downplay them,
Yeah, because this
but we
leads
do
up to
seek to
Noah,
understand
right?
them. Yeah,
Like this
yeah,
literally is what leads up to the flood. That's why we're like, and like even when you brought up Jude, of like, we know that some were cursed to outer darkness and chains,
yeah,
but I'm like, but not all of them. So it's
right.
like if it fits, it works, but it's not like, well, I don't think they're fallen angels. It's not like that's one of the beauties of uh, Bible translation, and you're trying to really look at the language, look at the context, and then think about it theologically. Because
Yeah.
you're worried when you like when you remember we were like learning Hebrew and Greek, and like you get a test and you translate it wrong, and you're like, great, did I just commit a heresy because I translated, the
Yeah.
sentence wrong? It's like not all of them are like you're gonna have some big theological conundrum, you know. Uh, this one's an
Yeah, and I
interesting
think
one,
yeah, and I
but
think when people engage in this conversation, they tend to not think in this progressive revelation sense, this
right,
non-developmental sense, right? Progressive revelation, we're not talking about liberal theology. We're talking
no,
about
yeah,
understanding that as you know more information, as more information is disclosed, that is, God interacts with
mhm.
humans more. Like he
Over
later
time, yeah,
interacts with Moses, later he interacts with the judges and all that other stuff. We have more information to work with, and that's just true. So that's what progressive revelation means. He's revealing himself more and more throughout history. Um, and that is the canon of our Bible, just for the substance.
yeah. It stops at
Uh,
Revelation.
yeah, it stops at
Yeah,
Revelation, and then he seals it. So I'm not saying that we still have that today, but that's exactly my point. When people get this idea of like, it makes me uncomfortable to think that angels would come down and procreate with women. Are you saying that that's what angels can and are doing? And I'm saying no. I don't think that's happening today. I'm saying that's what happened in the text at this point in time, right? God
mm,
judges that. And even as you said, there are some angels that are, at the bottom of the Euphrates River, spiritually, so to speak, and they're in
right,
chains, right? And so judgment has been dealt. This is actually a very unique event.
right,
That's
right.
why it's written down. And so no, I don't think demons are coming around, marrying women and procreating. What we are seeing here is a very terrible, exclusively unique event that happened almost at the very beginning of creation.
Like
And it
thousands of years
has to,
ago.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
has to be dealt with severely. So no, I'm not saying that. I'm kind of saying something along the lines of the opposite, that this is not something that usually happens, and when it did happen, it was such a crazy event that it got recorded, and then God had to deal with it harshly. I mean, if
With
you
a
want to know
flood.
how
Yeah,
harsh, there's the
exactly.
extra biblical account of first Enoch, right? Which is
Right, right.
extra biblical, and it really comes down on how much God hated that event. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's sort of something that I just wanted to clarify with that, is that we shouldn't feel comfortable with that idea, um, and we don't
Mm.
have to live with that idea. We just have to note that that was just kind of a one-time event, so to speak, that really became of note and happened at that point in time.
Fun. Capital Fun.
Yeah.
We put the fun and mental in fundamental. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
and
We're
you
not
know what's
fundamental.
it's funny too, because we usually ended up in a conversation for like an hour, maybe 2 hours after we asked that question with freshmen, and we ended up in all
Yeah, it was
sorts of
fun.
theological topics after that. So
And you don't leave going like, well, they're way off the mark. You're like,
yeah,
they're crazy. Like, it's like, well, okay, we kind of have our camps, and all
Hmm.
of our camps are on the same team. So you're kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
You're just like,
funny
I just
too
want
to
to know what
like
you think. Yeah, it's
it's
just,
funny too to see their eyes because some of them have never heard this before.
and
And
they're
then now they're
worried.
like,
They're like,
"Oh,
we're gonna
Bible
kick you
college
out.
is different."
And
Like
meanwhile, it's not. We're just
it's
trolling you, dude.
yeah, well no, I because this was something that I experienced that I really enjoyed. It's like Bible college isn't just where I come, I hold hands, I sing Kumbaya, and then we all
uh,
just repeat the same Apostles' Creed together every single day. This is like no,
hey,
these are we are we are coming here and we are engaging deeply in scripture and we're trying to wrestle with it and come out with the truth, and sometimes we come out with three different interpretations, but
hmm,
sometimes one of those interpretations really makes the most sense, and so we're just gonna really like we're gonna get to it. And so when you encounter that for the first time where you're just like, I never really thought about that, I never really realized that there's a whole conversation that could be had here, it's kind of
mm-hmm.
it's kind of different, right?
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really realize that Bible college is different, and that
I
you're
sure
gonna
hope
really
so.
be handling the text. Yeah, when I went to
This was
Moody, I
us at
thought I knew
Moody.
it all.
Yeah.
I really
Oh,
did. And then I found out I knew nothing, and then I
yeah.
started to learn, and then I realized I didn't know anything. Even today, the more I learn, the
Still
more I
don't.
realize I don't know,
Yeah.
because there's so much more that I could be drilling down into. And so,
I know. Welcome to. We're never
yeah.
satisfied. You know. Um,
We
and we
could be
can't.
mining the text our entire life. It's just one of those things that as you drill deeper, you realize that there's so much more to encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
Spurgeon. Yeah, it's shallow enough for a child to play in, but deep enough to drown an elephant. The Word of God.
wow. Yeah,
Um,
amen.
yeah, Spurgeon. He get the
Spurgeon has
one-liners
the
all day.
quotes, man.
He
I tell
does,
you, dude.
and it's like that's why it's fun. Bible college, at least at Moody. I don't know if it's like at other Bible colleges, but it was like, hey,
Yeah, that's true.
we're
I can
fun.
only
We're
speak for
eating
Moody.
pancakes, but like, yeah, but chew on this, like,
Yeah.
and it's like, holy moly, this is a Thursday night,
Yeah,
my
I have
second week
homework to
here.
do later
Like,
tonight.
is this gonna be on the final? Like, you don't have
Yeah,
time to date when you're thinking about Genesis 6:4, y'all.
right.
Okay, don't worry about your future wife. You find the Lord
Yeah,
and you love
exactly.
him.
We spend so much time in the library. Um, it is really funny the things that I learned at Moody were very weird when they were out of Moody. Like walking over to your library desk with a huge stack of books because these are
Mm-hmm.
reference materials and you were going to cite all of those and you were going to glean through the information that you required. When I did that at Liberty, because they had aviation students, they had nursing students, they had law students, they had all of this
Oh,
stuff.
right.
I'm
Different
walking with a
majors.
pile of books, right, that I have at my hip because I'm holding them,
I
and they
do
go
remember
all
that
the
guy.
way up to my
Yeah.
chin because I used my chin to kind of cinch it down so it doesn't go anywhere.
Bookends.
Yeah,
Bookends,
and then you
baby.
you lay it on there. Everyone's over there looking at me like I got seven heads, like where is this kid? What's he doing with
Like,
all his
what's your
books?
major, dude? Like, it's just a term paper.
Yeah, and
And
I'm
I'm
like,
like, dude,
this is normal. When you go to Moody, that's perfectly normal. I'm doing a research
Genesis 6
paper.
4.
Yeah,
One
I
verse.
gotta learn.
Like, oh,
So
man.
yeah, Genesis 6:4. That's something we did.
Classic.
That is it right there. So welcome to Moody. We just took you through that. I'm just kidding.
Welcome. Yeah, anyone watching this would be like, yeah, I had to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was spring semester of 2013.
Hey, we're
Yeah,
sorry if you were one of the people that we did that to.
I'm not sorry. You're welcome.
You're right. You're right.
We
You know
did
what?
you a
We're
favor.
not sorry. Welcome to
Yeah,
the club.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you ended up on a floor that wasn't ours. That's what I'm sorry for.
That's all day.
Yeah, alrighty. So let's move on to the 10th question here. The question
Mm,
is,
another Jenny. Sorry.
Muslims are descendants of Abraham.
Mm. Mm.
Muslims are descendants of Abraham. I think
Oh,
I have an answer for you. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know where you're gonna go with this one, so I'm
I think
kind
I
of
have one
just
for you too. I think we both are going to have to nuance. That's the whole point. But I
okay.
think I have an answer for you too.
Okay.
I think I think no matter what, you have to have a nuance either way.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, because people want to know why. But I'm trying to think for you.
Let me know when you have yours. This is quite the question. I
It
mean, this
is.
is
Muslims are the descendants of Abraham. The way that says.
yeah.
It's
And I've heard a lot of apologists interact with this. I've heard a lot of Muslims say this.
okay.
So this is certainly a question that we kind of do engage with.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm I'm
so
gonna
do you have it?
watch us do opposites. I want.
Okay. So what I'm
Okay.
thinking for you
okay. Yeah.
is
One,
yes.
two, three. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. I mean, that's not the way we did it before.
Okay.
Okay.
You're
What do
saying
you
okay.
think
I
for
know
me?
that was me. I'm thinking no. A
Okay.
nuance no.
So you are correct. Am I correct?
You said yes.
You are correct in that I say no. I said you would answer yes to that statement. Am I correct?
I'm a nuanced yes.
Okay.
But I think what we're going to
I'll
do, I
take that
think you
win.
and I are going to work together
Yeah.
and conquer both sides of something right now.
Okay.
I have a feeling.
I don't know. I
A
don't
part of
know.
me's I'm a nuanced yes and a nuanced no.
All right. I'll
This
tell you what.
question, I'm sorry, y'all.
I'll let you lay down the groundwork. That way,
Okay.
if at the end we don't agree, I can just say no. Like I
Okay.
just miss it. Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah. This yes no
Nuance
game
your
threw
yes.
us a maybe question. And maybe it's a nuance. Okay. Muslims are the descendants of Abraham. Yes or no?
Okay.
They are descendants of Abraham in an ethnic sense.
Okay.
They are. Like literally, they can trace the line. Like, hey, I might have been related to so and so, fathered so and so, fathered so and so, great, 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 great. Ishmael. Ishmael's dad was Abraham through Hagar. That's my nuance. Yes, descendants of Abraham.
Okay. Ethnically.
Where I think I'm with you, maybe nuance like a no, nuance no, is Paul. Not all who are of Abraham, not all who belong are of Abraham belong to Abraham. And so even if you could trace your lineage back to him ethnically, and that's if you're with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if you could trace your lineage back to him ethnically, that doesn't mean you are in Abraham or believe in Abraham's God.
Hmm.
And so I think if Paul can write that about Jews, you know, then imagine Muslims who, worship Allah, Muhammad, and all these uh, different pillars and whatnot, and quite frankly, a text that came at least 100 years, if not a couple 100 years after the closing of what we consider the New Testament, and
Hmm.
definitely way younger than the Old Testament, where we get Abraham. you know, so I'm just like, yeah. So I say nuanced, yes, if you mean ethnically, because you can really, it's a historical book, and you can see that you had Abraham, then Ishmael,
Hmm.
but spiritually, ain't no relation at all. Sorry, I kind of maybe I stole your thunder. So like
No, actually,
they're not real descendants in the spiritual sense of what it really means to be in Abraham. They're not even close.
okay. So my answer
Sorry,
is
I
just
ruined the question because like yes and
no, no, no,
no.
no. You're good, and I'm glad you brought that perspective. Except my perspective is just straight up no. Like I dismiss that they are ethnically from Abraham as well.
Okay.
I mean, we got to remember Abraham is not just like he's not Noah. He's not from like where everyone comes from. There's an entire world around him already, and he's a very specific family. The only reason why I say that is not that I have to plead my case to prove that Muslims are descended from Abraham, but
Hmm.
quite the opposite. There's no correlation between Muslims of the 16th, 15th century, of the 15th century,
Oh.
and Abraham of that century, but other than they claim they are the Ishmael line. So that is a claim that they have
Ah.
to prove. But there's a whole world of descendants that they could be from that is not Abraham. And so I reject that Muslims claim the Abrahamic lineage unless they can prove it, and saying that they live in the land is not proof.
Yeah. And even if they did
Babylonians
prove
come
it,
in,
yeah. And then
Assyrians come in. Philistines come in, right? All of those people, they all come into the land. Israel is a transport type city that you have to travel through. Egyptians have to come in. You have people from Ur that Abraham came from. You have all these different places that they could have come from, an entire world and descendant of people that are living at the time. So I just don't think that the claim that Muslims are that specific person's lineage is something that is definitive. And most people say, well, because they live in the land and they're constantly at war with Israel, that sort of fulfills the prophecy that Ishmael will be warring with them their entire lives. But I mean, that doesn't square. That doesn't make the claim true. Israel's been fighting with many nations throughout the entire time, and just because they're Muslims right now does not mean that that's who they are. And so I just think that that's just sort of a non evidenced claim that I think they like to use, but
Hmm.
I don't think that that's true.
I see. And that's why I kind of like, which is an interesting perspective too. If you're watching this, you happen to stumble upon it, and you think there is evidence, please share it with us.
Yeah,
But then
I'd
also
like to
kind
hear
of
it.
going back to, but then also going back to where I said, even if you could prove it that you're somehow like actually genetically related, if you're not spiritually related, it don't really much matter.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
you
At
don't
the end of
believe
the
in,
day.
at the end of the day, if you don't believe unto the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the great I am, as we've seen him in Christ Jesus, our Messiah and
Hmm.
Lord. I love saying
Yeah,
that.
it always feels
Uh,
good.
then, then I'm so sorry. I don't care
Yeah.
who you're related to if you're not a co-heir and a brother with Christ
Hmm.
or sister with Christ.
Amen. And
Hmm.
and I just think it's really interesting of a question.
Right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
I like you've heard my negation of it, but like that's just also an apologetic thrust right there
Hmm.
because they will state and claim that they are,
And
but that
you
doesn't
followed
mean I
the
have to
wrong
take it.
one.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just
No.
you'd have to prove that. I don't think you are.
And just like
You
now
know,
deal with
but
that. Yeah.
but let's move on, like
Yeah. Yeah, right, right, right.
yeah, so
You've tried to
yeah.
play your card. That card didn't really, sorry,
Yeah, but I just think
got
it's
ace of
really
spades.
interesting because I think it's a card that we always allow, right? It's like why?
True.
So it's like, okay, well, based on that premise, this, and I just find it interesting that we don't think about that. We go
Like, why are you
forward
giving them?
assuming that it's true
Mm.
when it has yet to be demonstrated. Um,
It's like
and
you
even if it did,
thought,
like, who cares?
presupposed.
We're talking about spiritual matters here, so
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways, moving on
I
to
like it.
our 10th question. You know,
Yeah. Oh gosh.
wow. Man, we are just on
Sorry.
it.
I
So,
think
okay.
I'll be a little shorter. I'll try not short, but
No,
I'll be
no,
a little
no.
more
This is all
succinct.
good. This is all good. I think everyone's going to be enjoying this because
I
I
hope
mean,
so,
we're
y'all.
hitting we are hitting these questions. So, we're not on our 10th question. That was the 10th question. We are on 11th question. So
Hmm.
here's one. All right, everyone, focus in. Our 11th question is Kanye was a Christian when he made the Jesus is King album.
Hmm.
Oh
Okay.
man, this one.
This is gonna be.
Okay.
This is, dude. You're thinking of me, and I'm
Yeah, I
thinking of
know.
you, and so it's like, huh? It's just like, okay. I think I have
Okay.
yours though.
I think I have yours. I think I do.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that you would say, and I think you would qualify this, but I think you would say yes. Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
What do you think I would say? What do you think I would
I
say?
I think you would. I'll still have to qualify it, but I think you would say yes.
Okay, you are correct. Am I correct?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know who I am.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Come
You're
on.
right. You know
You
what?
needed to
Oh my
think
goodness. I should
about
have thought
me.
about that. I'm trying to get these answers quickly. so
don't
that I
like
can,
think about
you
me,
know,
bro.
I'm trying to
That's your
host well,
problem.
you
You
know.
never
I just should
think
have thought
of what
about
I'm
this.
feeling.
Okay,
No. Yeah,
that's so true. I should have if I took just the extra
I
second to
know.
think about this, I
It
would have
makes
gotten this
sense though,
right.
right? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
What's
all
my new
right, go
answer?
ahead and then
What's
I'll go.
yeah.
Your nuanced answer is obviously the falling away proves that
Yeah.
he never
No.
was, right?
Right.
And so he was never actually a Christian, but you know, he played the part, right?
Yeah.
Um,
My
he said
yeah.
that he was, right? In
Mhm.
the demonstration that he actually wasn't would be everything after that, right? Because he's
Mhm.
certainly not living like a Christian now. And he's doing,
Not
yeah,
anymore.
he's
Yeah.
really
If he was, he
demonstrating
not
that he
anymore.
didn't have those fruits. And so the fruits are bearing forth of the root that he never was a Christian.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like two things. One, uh like for that is cuz like hey, um first John talks about how like, you can't unless you say Jesus like is God, and you recognize his resurrection, like it's all like the spirit of God isn't in you. I'm thinking in the sense I think Kanye might have been in the case of like when not to stretch it, but the parable of the sower
Hmm.
in the sense of because I qualify like the falling away where like he was never really in it in the sense of he might have been the one that he fell on the soil. He did, but it wasn't lasting soil.
Hmm.
And so he was able to taste and see that the Lord is good, as Hebrew talks about. But then he fell away. And then when I think about also what First John has us acknowledge in the sense that Jesus is God, I need to know what does Kanye mean by Jesus is King, as
Right.
in like like because I know in that culturally as well, like just rap music or like hey Queen, hey King, like when you're just trying to have
That's
like
true. Yeah.
a sense of respect for one another. And then let's say he really is saying like Jesus is capital K, King of Kings. Uh, that's something interesting. He doesn't say King of Kings. The Romans called Jesus King of the Jews. They
He
called him
does
King.
say King of Kings.
King of Kings.
King of Kings,
And is
Lord
that
of
yeah?
Lords.
And is that something you can say and not mean it in your heart, and you're saying it, and maybe he did mean it in his heart, but that also goes back to like what I
Right.
meant with the parable of the sower, where
Right.
he yeah he's tasted these things, he said it out of that time, but if he's really saved, there no one in their right mind, right, would walk away from the Lord when you've really seen him, like really really know him, like you like where the lies are speaking louder than the truth, like when the Lord like would let that, like when he were to actually let that happen
Right.
in the life of one of his true sheep, of like, you know what, I'm like when I say no one's going to be snatched from my hand, it's just a suggestion, like it's just a joke, like, and I'm not trying to like pick one. I'm obviously on one side and I'm proud of it, so I'm not going to shy away from it, but I have to rationalize like how could you say all these things about Christ if you really mean
Right.
them, and then just I'm not going to mean them anymore, and then the world just means more to me than him.
Right.
Like there's a serious disconnect because no Christian in their right mind, even if they're tempted, would be like, I really am okay with that. Like at the end of the day, I really I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
I can imagine it. I don't think it's really not wise. I don't. So I don't. Uh, that true heart change. I think he said those words. He might have even liked the idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. You, my
Okay.
brother. I said yes, nuanced.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
no,
just yes.
you're right on that one. And it's so funny. I didn't think, I really am trying to get your answer almost as split second as I
Was this my
possibly can.
aliens? Oh, yeah,
No, it's
take 2 seconds. You're
yeah, I
allowed.
did I should. I just want to make sure that we don't have like a lot of dead air while we're both thinking.
No,
Um
I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
anyways,
You're welcome, Spotify listeners.
yeah, right. I should have realized how much our theologies were going to play into this question.
At least this one. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
this one in particular. So I do think that Kanye was a Christian. I do think that he
Right.
experienced that. I do think that he was genuine. I listened to the album at the time when Jesus
In
is
my
King.
apartment.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
y'all.
true.
Like
Um, at the time when that album dropped, it was the biggest sort of question that was rumbling around all the churches and amongst all
right,
the
right.
groups. It's, is he actually a Christian or is he just doing this for the money? Because we didn't know whether we should latch on or whether we should keep him at an arm's distance. We didn't know whether we should support him or whether we should keep our money away from him because he's just doing it for the money. And so
Hmm.
I was really sympathetic to that. I wanted to wait just a little bit before, I even answered it for myself. And I kind of did that. I did buy the album and I'd listened to it intently for the lyrics to see if he was off, and I thought that the album in general was very good. It was done, I think, in his perspective, very worshipfully. And even some of the things that he was saying, he wasn't pulling any punches. The King of Kings, Lord of Lords, all the things he has in store from the rich to the poor, all are welcome through the door. That's the gospel message, and
Yeah,
that's
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 not
in
a
his
lie.
song.
Nothing there
Yeah,
was
it almost seemed
untruthful.
like he came as bold as he possibly could. It almost seemed like because he thought, a lot of people aren't, they're trying to make Jesus songs where it's like Jesus is my girlfriend, and it seemed like he just wanted to come in like a wrecking ball and say the most bold things about Christ. And so I
Mm,
really enjoyed it, and I thought, you know what, if this is what he believes, this man is really saved. The only thing is he's newly saved.
yeah.
So he's newly saved, he's making a rap album, he's bringing it forward, and I'm just thinking he is fragile at this point in time. And so
Mm,
we can support him, but we need to create support structures around him. We need him in Bible studies. We need him, doing things that essentially are going to be building him up in Christ. Because, here I had been grown up in Christ in a Christian household, and then I fell away from the Lord, and I came back to Christ, and I was rooted in a good church with support structures around me that I found for myself. And I was in that for a number of years before I finally went to Moody to learn more about God. And then I was constantly being grown. And so here we are, halfway through Moody, an undergrad experience. He drops that album. He is all of a sudden a figure in Christian culture.
yeah.
I am much more well rooted than he is. I am far better equipped to be able to influence and help people in their understanding of God. And he has just jumped center stage with wherever he is at, probably not a good foundation, and he is now influencing theology and the culture. And so I just thought what he needs is someone to pour into him, disciple him, and get him on the right track. Uh, Otherwise, he is going to get all kinds of messed up. And I think that's what happened. I think he had no structure. He wanted to go make his, Jesus Sunday service church, make it a mega
Yeah.
church. He viewed
That's was yeah.
himself as a pastor, not as a disciple, not as someone who needed that learning experience, but someone who was just
Right.
gonna give that experience. And so I think he just fell off the tracks. His life started to come in, and as you said, with the seeds, I think with some of that earthly stuff, with wealth and what was going on with his family, yeah, I think he fell off the rails, and I really do think he messed himself up, and we're seeing, he's kind of on that bipolar thing, and so his
Yeah.
fruits have really shown. And I think that was really because he came in center stage and then just crash landed. So I do think he was kind of genuine there at the start, but he came in hot and then he burned out almost as immediately as he came in. And so when at that time when people were asking, I listened to the album and I sort of came down with yes, he is a Christian, We can support him, but we got to be praying for him that he gets that structure and stuff. And he didn't, and then he burned out, and he did some pretty terrible things with his anti-Semitic remarks and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it just proved to us you can't jump onto a bandwagon too quickly. You really want to be looking for the fruits, and that's what comes with time. And then at the same time, you just you want to be cautious about those that you you
Listen to and are
yeah,
is
listen to.
influenced by.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
so that was sort of a lesson. I was really hoping that he stood the test of time, but he didn't. To a lot of people's disappointment, and to myself, because I was really hoping that he would change the way that gospel music was and how bold it was going to be in our culture.
yeah, I think. Well, I know I've been doing a study about "I Am the Vine," David Murray. It's from Moody
Yeah.
Publishers, by the way, as well. But and it's just one of those things where like the God, Jesus is the vine, we are the branches, um, and so long as we are abiding, so long as we love Him and want to pursue Him, we can't help but abide. And it's Him being the vine that is constantly giving us that desire as branches to want to abide.
Hmm.
So it's like one of those things where, hey, I want you to abide in me, and I'm going to make sure that happens because I love you. And I think about what happened with truth will stand the test of time. And so
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where I'm so thankful I know the Lord so soon, and I believe with all my heart that I don't want to be like Peter where I'll always love you, Lord, I'll never deny you. Yeah, but like
Right.
but I do like but until my dying breath, and then like you hear me go, Jesus is Lord, and then I
Right.
die, and even after that, right? We're pastors. We've had to preach funerals. You never want to preach anyone into or out of heaven. You
Right.
don't want to preach them into heaven, and you don't want to preach them into hell. So you're trying. Uh, but I do know, kind of like what you had mentioned, especially how he saw himself. If he like saw himself as a pastor, you think about the qualifications of an elder, overseer, or deacon,
Yeah, I have
right?
something to say about that as well, but
Like
go ahead and finish that thought.
I was going to say, like, yeah, chapter 3, verse 6, right? He must not be a recent convert,
Yeah.
or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment of the devil. Like,
Yeah.
what a verse, right? Just,
Yeah, and so something I wanted to say about that before we go ahead and move on from this.
just
What was
thinking.
really
Yeah.
interesting as people were kind of reflecting on the phenomena of that kind of phase in Kanye's life where it kind of just came in and burned out is as we learned more about kind of what that was, what we found out was that Kanye actually had left the music industry and he was under his pastor, and he said that he never wanted to go back into music because it was satanic. Not music
Hmm.
itself, but that the music industry was satanic because the music industry, like producers and all that stuff, were engaging in literal Satanism of like just you have to sell your soul to get into this, and they're gonna tear you from essentially all of what you are and turn you into this product and stuff. And so he saw the music industry and all its inner workings as he claimed, like he was very much into that when he was in music, which is why he developed some music where he said that he was God, and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. And he was just saying that the music industry is so satanic in that sense that he never wanted to go back to it. And so he kind of viewed that as he was done with the music industry. He was a Christian now and he just wanted to be ingrained in that. But it was his pastor actually at the time that wanted him to get back into the music industry to be a gospel influence in music. And so it was actually his pastor that had encouraged him to go back into it and nudged him in, even though he didn't want to go back into that. So he did get talked into developing the album, and then he did end up in the music industry that he felt was satanic, but he was sort of being pushed along back into that. And then
Yeah.
he fell away. And so I think this is
Hmm.
actually just a misapplication of pastoral authority.
Yeah.
I
I wonder
think
who produced it. Yeah, that might have helped too.
I
You know.
think his pastor kind of did him wrong. and gave him bad advice. Because when someone is saying, I really feel uncomfortable with this, I never want to go back into it again, your first inclination should not be, no, you're going to.
Hmm.
It could be just, hey, yeah, and then at a later date when you have a lot more roots and you feel a lot more comfortable, maybe you can start to bring that up again. But yeah, what we're seeing there is actually Kanye never wanted to do music again, and that's sort
Hmm.
of what happened there. At least that's what I've heard that came out of that. And so he did end up
Oh,
producing the album, and he did end
yeah.
up feeling like he was at that level. And so I do think in the background of it, in the inner workings, uh, I don't I don't think he
Yeah.
wanted to produce that album,
Hmm.
and I think yeah,
So
just
maybe it
bad
might not have
pastoral
been
advice.
genuine. Well,
Well,
not that
I
what he
do
was
think
saying
he was
wasn't genuine,
genuine. I
but
just think
based.
that he was poorly directed by
Oh,
someone that
okay.
he trusted.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I was an alcoholic,
Well, Jesus turned
but
water into wine.
that's terrible. I never want to drink alcohol again. I want to stay away from that. That's Satan uses that to keep you down, and I've seen my life degrade. Everyone who does it, their
Mm.
lives degrade. I want to stay out of it. And then the pastor says, "No, I'm glad that you're saved now, but you got to go back into those bars to save others." Right? And then they go into the bar and they tell the gospel one day, and then the next day they're back in the bar drinking and all of that
Yeah.
stuff, and they're not proclaiming the gospel, and they're just living the way as they were. I'm not saying that he never was saved. I'm just saying I think the pastor messed up in how
Uh,
he directed him. And
is the pastor saved? I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
well,
No, like no, it's
I
something
think
to think
it's
about.
yeah,
Like,
it's something to think about, because I do think it's a good idea for him to go back and influence music, but I think it might have either happened too quickly, or you at the end of the day you do have to respect the conviction that he does feel he shouldn't be in that area
mm,
anymore.
well,
And
because
so
yeah,
there's a larger conversation to be had there. But it is a
yeah,
really interesting one, and the phenomena that is Kanye West and whether he was Christian.
yeah. Well, because you have like you think, well, think about what God could do with you in your music. It's like, well, think about what God could do with him without music.
Yeah, without music.
Like, he do it's God. Who knows what he wants him to do. And then
Right.
and I also think of Korn lead guitarist and then also bassist Fieldy, yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Head Welsh and Fieldy, from Korn, where you know new metal rock band, and they are new as an NU, um,
Yeah.
but they're very much Christian men, like radically changed, and it's proving the test of time. Uh, I think Brian, like literally, he just celebrate it was like a month or two ago, like celebrating, in 2005, like 18 years ago, giving his life to the Lord. Um, and he's like, and he posted the picture of him getting baptized in the Jordan River. And he's like, and I hate this because everyone's going to think like I was just trying to be sacrilegious, corn rock band guy, long hair, white robe, beard, coming out of the Jordan River to like make fun of Jesus. And it's like,
Right.
no, I didn't mean to look like him. I do want to look like him actually, but he's like, it's not, and he's like trying to do this in a caption on Instagram, like, you
Yeah.
guys know what I mean. I became a Christian. This is when I got baptized. Okay, I'm just really happy today. I hope you're
Right.
happy for me too, kind of deal. And it's like that's real lasting change, and that shows you they were able to get back into the music. Even if I don't know if I could do it, but like they
Right.
even toured with Korn again. Like I don't know if I would want to participate in that music again,
Yeah. A lot
but
of
it
us
is,
were worried
but they
about
had to
that.
take time. But they had
Yeah.
to take time before they got back into it, right? Because Brian's like, that's when I did drugs when I was on tour. I don't know how I'm gonna, even though I'm a Christian, I don't know how the tour will stress me out this time.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that I would go back to drugs, but what would I do now? Would I say things? Would I be mean? Would I, whatever?
Yeah.
And so
Because you
they
still
don't,
have to practice with people who are still that way. And so it's like,
and you're in the music, yeah, the
yeah.
whole nine, right? And so it's like, do I want to invite that, like, do I want to invite that back into my life when I'm so thankful that the Lord was able to kind of bring me out?
Right.
And they were able to make that decision, thankfully. And I think if he hadn't had Fieldy, or if Fieldy didn't have, Head with him, like
Yeah.
where they can kind of confide in each other.
It'd
I
be a
don't
lot
know.
harder.
Yeah, and this is all, I don't know the dynamics.
I think
I'm
there's
just trying
three
to think
people that
about
are
it.
saved.
Oh, Monkey. I
from
think didn't he
Cornell.
the other
Yeah.
guitarist Monkey?
So he's been evangelizing. Like it's been working. That's the difference. That's what I'm saying here. I don't
He's
I
saving the
don't
band. Yeah.
necessarily blame the pastor for it.
Right.
It
Right.
can or cannot work.
Timing.
I
Yeah.
do think the timing was off.
Mm.
And so it was kind of disappointing to hear that
Right
when I
on.
did. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Was he
I
a
do
Christian
still
when he made his
enjoy
king?
Jesus is King album. In fact, it's my favorite song about Chick-fil-A. So
Oh, that's right. He does say Chick-fil-A.
yeah, that's the album.
Oh, see,
So
guys, I listen to rock and roll. I don't like. It's nothing against rap music. I think they're talented. I just
right.
it's not my preferred genre.
Well, all right.
Sorry.
So, folks, these next two questions are actually going to be episodes. I know we say that a lot, but no, these are
Yeah.
actually planned episodes. And so we are
So.
going to answer them. We will try and be very brief so as to not give away too much content that we'll be recovering, or covering again.
mm,
um, and so the next two questions we'll kind of run through. Uh, Stay tuned for those, okay?
yes.
Um,
Yes.
so one of these questions is question number 12. AI sermons are legitimate sermons.
I have your answer. Sorry, like I just talked about like not rushing. I have your answer.
Okay. Gosh, I don't know what
Now
to,
you're really thinking.
yeah,
Okay.
I need you to take up the airtime. I really got to
Da-do,
think about this.
ba-do, thinking. Need my Pee Wee
Really
balloon.
feel like I got to guess this one. Okay,
Oh, you got a guess with me? Okay.
yeah,
Man,
I
I got
do.
you. I
It's
got.
just
This is the aliens. This
you're
is
such
your
a
alien.
nuanced mind sometimes,
I am.
it's hard.
It's not
Uh,
only tossing anything out
Someone give me a
ever.
coin.
Yes. Heads you
uh,
lose, tails I win. I purposely switched it to mess with you. By the way.
yeah, okay.
Just go with your.
Okay,
I
yeah,
would say go with
I'm
your
gonna go with
gut,
this one.
but
Okay,
like,
so what I think you would say is no to this. Um,
interesting. I'm just kidding.
I
I'm just
know,
messing with you.
I
I'm
really.
just trying to be mean. I'm being mean.
What do you think I would say?
I think you would say no. Also, I think you said I would say no. I think you would
Yeah.
say no
Okay. Am I correct?
about me. Like I'm saying no. Like yeah, you
Yeah, that you
think
would
I
say
would say
no.
no. You're correct.
Okay,
No.
you are incorrect.
What? This game is not fun. You lose when you win, and you don't win.
Okay.
Wow, really? Okay,
All
here.
right.
You
So,
go for why you're no, and then
yeah,
I'll
okay. So the reason why I'm saying no is because AI generation and the
or why you're saying yes. Sorry. Why
yeah,
are you saying
sorry.
yes?
The reason why I'm saying
Apologize.
yes, they are legitimate sermons, is because my understanding and what I've been learning about AI, which will be a topic in the future. This is going to be the foundation, so I don't want to get too far into it. But
Mm,
from my understanding of what AI is it is essentially a learning base of that material that is available. And so these sermons are all a conglomeration of legitimate sermons that already exist, right? And so AI is not a creator as much as it is an innovator, but it's not necessarily an
mm,
innovator as much as it is just a regurgitation. It's just a retelling of all the stories it's collected before into this new its own version. And so I think that AI will be able to create a legitimate sermon based on the fact that it is a retelling of legitimate sermons, right? And so if the Holy Spirit, let's just say AI actually produced a
Oh
sermon
gosh, you
with
brought up
the
the Holy
voice
Spirit now. Not that it's a
and
bad thing, but here
someone
we
was
go.
listening and heard the gospel for the first time, I mean, in all technicality, that would be a sermon generated by AI that someone came to faith with. So I do think it's legitimate in that sense, which is a
Okay, in that
huge
sense.
asterisk.
Nice clarification.
It's a lot of technicalities.
Okay,
It's a
yeah.
lot of
Just
working,
saying.
but it's
Okay.
yeah,
It could work.
it could work. I could see how it could work, and so that's why I gotta
Okay.
say yes. You're
See,
gonna say
okay, this
no.
is
Go ahead and knock it all down.
I know this is like Muslims are the descendants of no. Why am I working with that? It's just no.
Yeah, it's
Just
just straight up no, no.
exactly. Um, I think AI sermons can contain legitimate truth. If that was the question, can
Yeah,
AI sermons be true? Yes or no? That'd
right.
be easy yes. I think also AI sermons could be wrong. Depends on who's given the sermon.
Yeah, absolutely,
It could
because
be
it
a sermon
also
for
has
Satan.
all those heretical sermons too.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. So
That's
what are we
true.
working
Yeah, I mean that's true. So at the end of the day, I would
another
have.
technicality, another nuance over here. If you guys, if you don't like nuance, I mean, you will hate this podcast.
Yeah,
I mean, you
seriously.
really will. You'll never want to listen to it, or theology in general.
Yeah,
But no, I think AI sermons are not legitimate sermons. And I do appreciate your nuance of like, it's definitely not original.
hmm,
And it really is hard to be original anymore just because of the wealth of
fair enough.
knowledge out there and the resources at our disposal. It's hard to be a person that's like, no one has ever thought this before ever until me right now. like like good luck. But you do have to put like as a person, an image bearer, just like you can have multiple artists create different paintings and then even if you have a really keen eye, you could have them all paint the same painting, and there's still little things that make it different because they're not the same person. And so maybe if you did like, across AI platforms, it's
Yeah,
like you write this AI interface writes this sermon, and hey, this platform writes this sermon, and like same passage. Let's see what they write, and I think it would be different because they might be picking and choosing what
right.
information they regurgitate.
Yeah,
So I know there's a creative element,
right.
but I have to say no because I don't think anyone here is going to be like, "Hey, we're going to go to church on Sunday and we're going to have someone press play on an AI sermon and then we're just going to listen to it like a recording."
Right.
Like it Paul is very clear, right? He says it's through the hearing of the word and the preaching of that word that is heard. And it's like, okay, can can a thing, a digital database that just holds all this information, be a pastor?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So
Like, 'cause pastors
I
give
see how
sermons.
you can. I see how you're answering it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that now.
Pastors give legitimate sermons.
Yeah.
Like, well, biblical pastors moved by the whole give legitimate sermons
Yeah, I was just thinking about it
in the sense of like
in terms of
legitimacy.
like form
Yeah,
and structure, it could be developed.
yeah.
And then if it was posted on YouTube and someone came across it on YouTube and was
Uh,
just listening to it, yeah, that's sort of
yeah.
my yeah. But if we're
Okay.
talking about someone up at the front, I mean,
Sure. Well, I'm trying to
it,
be like brief, but like
yeah,
what
no, no,
makes
no,
a
no,
sermon
that's
legitimate, right? What makes
true.
it legitimate? That's what we're going to probably talk
Hmm.
about in our episode.
Yeah.
Like eh,
All
what
right.
makes it okay, not okay? What's real about it? What's not real about it? Yeah, okay? You got me, y'all?
Yeah,
Like
there's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot to
mhm.
that episode. I sort
Sure.
of kind of gave a foundational element that we'll be building them up from that
We're
entire
going to talk about
episode.
both
But
sides.
there's a lot to cover with AI, and I've been learning a lot more about it. It's scary. It's not scary. We'll cover that in the future, so be looking forward to that. But it's a huge topic, for the last maybe a year or two, and so there's a
I'd say
lot of
so.
myths about it. There's a lot of facts about it. We're gonna try and cover that in that episode. All right, so moving on to the final question.
I'm going, thank goodness. I'm
You know
just
what?
kidding.
I
Long
almost
game.
want to just answer this and then leave.
Okay,
Just like
yeah,
just leave
I'm
everyone
down.
in suspense.
You're welcome.
I almost want to say we should do that actually.
Yeah, I'm in.
Let's give maybe a one sentence, or just
Like
extremely short, you
Pauline
know.
run-on sentence, all the semicolons. It's
let's
18
just
verses, but it's one
let's
sentence.
try and nuance this in the briefest way possible. Maybe one sentence, because we do want to leave this for an episode. We really want to leave something that you're looking for it. You want it now, and so you'll be coming week to week for it. And we will have an episode on this in the future. So, without further ado, the gifts of the Holy Spirit are still active today. I mean, folks, we hit just the most controversial, talked
Bum,
about
bum, bum, bum.
conversations we possibly can. We don't shy away from this stuff. We go straight into it and we try and give our biblical perspectives on it, even if he and I differ on it. You
If
know,
we
yeah,
haven't answered
if,
yet.
yeah, we have, that's never happened. Even on this one, aliens, and all that. We never differ.
No.
um,
Good gosh, man. Coca-Cola.
yeah. All
Man,
right.
I'm
So,
drinking the Kool-Aid.
um,
Gifts of the
I
Spirit.
mean,
I'm
obviously,
thinking for you.
I feel like this one. I feel like this one you would. I feel strongly that I'm confident. Yeah, I'm using all these adjectives that you would say nuanced. Yes.
I think for you, I think you would also say nuanced, yes.
Okay.
Well,
You
like
are
yes,
correct.
but like but let me still
Yeah, but
nuance,
you have to
kind of thing.
nuance it for yeah
But I
for an
definitely,
episode for a long
yeah,
episode.
yeah. Oh, of course, right.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I would say, I think I'd be less hesitant to say yes for you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You are correct. Am I correct?
Uh, Highly nuanced.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
highly nuanced. Yes,
Short justification. We'll just say for this real quickly on
sure.
mine. Extremely nuanced, extremely qualified.
Yes.
Yes, they are. I will go hyperbolically to say I've never seen
Whoa. Nice.
it.
Oh, okay, man,
So
you might
I'm
beat me.
using a little bit of
Okay.
exaggeration, hyperbole here, but yes,
Yeah.
they exist. I have yet to see it.
All
Um, and mind you, I did come from a charismatic church, all of that stuff. So I do believe that they are present, active, even today. Uh, I'm gonna use an exaggeration. I've yet to see it. That's what
mm,
I'll say. That's my
all
one
right.
sentence thing. Dave, you got one
Okay.
sentence
That's
too.
practically, yeah, it's practically a ditto.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
practically, I was all of the spiritual gifts are still active, I believe, in places where the entire canon of scripture is not present
okay.
or allowed.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I can see that. Alrighty, so
And we'll
now
talk
you
about
guys
what
are
that means
probably going
later.
to be replaying that and trying to parse it out and expand it. Don't worry, we'll do that for you in an episode in the future. Stay tuned. But there really is a lot there in those
Yes, it
two
is. It's
answers.
two
It's
sentences.
and it's hard to just give one sentence too, but like there's so much conversation to be had, and
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that that just leaves you guys just really wanting more in just enjoying this podcast. So we did two episodes. This is the yes no game with myself and co-host and Pastor David Hoffman,
Yeah.
who
What's
we
up?
always enjoy to have with us. And I don't know, I just really enjoy co-hosting this with you, my guy.
Thanks, man.
And
Me
so
too.
this has been real fun.
Yeah.
We
Give us
have
more questions. If
yeah.
you want
What
us to
questions?
answer more questions, send
Yeah,
them.
what questions would you want to add to this if we play this game again? I'm sure we would. I don't know, maybe. Um,
This was so fun and didn't hurt my brain at all.
I know it's so
This kind of
tough
hurt my
not to
head
just
more
take
than
one of these questions and just run with it for an
I know.
hour,
I know. I know.
and so that's sort of the challenge with this. But it's a
But it's
lot of
fun.
fun. And so, what questions would you like to hear? We really hope that you enjoyed these couple episodes. And this is season 2, folks. We are
Yeah.
excited to have you.
Buckle up.
We're loving it, and we're loving having these conversations with you. So, with that being said, we will catch you guys next week. See ya.